Welcome to a new episode of the PodcAls. I'm Joey Alfieri from the Montreal Alouettes. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. A reminder that every Tuesday we have a new English language podcast that comes out with a new great guest every week, off season, in season. Obviously, we're going to be bringing it to you in English every Tuesday and in French every Thursday. So you get 2 doses of your Alouettes fix every single week. We bring it, we ask the tough questions, we get to the nitty gritty, and we have some fun along the way. Our very first guest today, our only guest, I should say today, is the former Montreal Alouette. That's right, we have a former Montreal Alouette that's going to join us. His name is Austin Mack. He's now a wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll get to Austin in just a second. But I'm here to remind you as well that you can pick up your 3, 5, Flex 10, and season memberships right now on the Montreal Alouettes website. Go to montrealalouettes.com. If you want a 3-game pack, 5-game pack, that's all self-explanatory. You can pick your own games. You see which ones fit your schedule the best, and you can go ahead and pick that up right now. The Flex 10, the season membership is interesting, but the Flex 10 is really cool. It's basically you're purchasing 10 tickets that you can use whenever you like. So if you want to use all 10 in one game, you can do that. If you want to use a pair of tickets for 5 games, you can do that. So you can use them at your leisure. Again, whatever fits your schedule best. All right. Before we get to Austin Mack, there's something that I feel like we need to mention about Austin Mack. I got to know him pretty well. We got along well. And I think the thing that impressed me the most about Austin Mack, obviously what he did on the field all season, being a CFL All-Star, one of the premier receivers in the league, and just his first year in Canada, that's impressive. That's very cool to see how that all unfolded. Because I remember the first time I really noticed Austin Mack at training camp in Trois-Rivières was, you notice him and you see him, but the very first Saturday that we were there, so camp opened on Sunday, but the very first Saturday, so 6 days later, when I knew that things were happening with him, it was a team scrimmage. And so those things are catered to the offense and whatnot like that. But still, bear with me. There was a catch that he made jumping over, I think it was Deontay Ruffin, who ended up being the starting boundary corner for the Montreal Alouettes in the Grey Cup game. But Austin Mack made a play where he leaps over the defensive back and make a catch. I'm pretty sure it was in the end zone. And I just remember going, oh, 81. Okay, let's add him to our notes. And then, a couple plays later, another play. And you're like, all right, 81 again, made a play. And I'm taking these notes. And I just remember coming away from that game and I was like, I think the Alouettes might have something here. You never know what it's going to translate to until you get to the games. But that first game against Ottawa, he caught a 61-yard bomb. He got tripped up inside the 5. But, for an Alouettes team, the Owls won, but they scored 19 points. That offense was a work in progress. But for him to step up, make that play with Cody Fajardo, a guy who hasn't really played with before, was pretty remarkable. So, that was the first time I noticed Austin Mack. But so what he did on the field was impressive to me. And I'll ask him about it when he comes on with us. But to me, it was the attitude regarding the CFL, the Canadian game. Look, I've covered this team before working here for a long time. I watched as a fan for a very long time, and I'm still a fan of this team, but I get to work here now, living the dream. There are a lot of really talented players that you see come to Canada, and they think they're too good for the league. They think they're going to come in and obliterate everybody. They think they're better than them. They think that things are owed to them. Not only was Austin Mack humble in his approach. He's a very confident guy. Don't get me wrong. The confidence is there. You can't perform at this level and perform the way he did without confidence. But it wasn't arrogance. And so to me, Austin Mack, I think it's funny that people, you may have noticed, if you follow the Alouettes on Instagram or Twitter, and if you're not, what are you waiting for? But before every home game, he had his wife made up a shirt of an Alouettes legend or the offensive line, or, he had a Jamel Richardson one and a Ben Cahoon one and an Anthony Calvillo one. And keep in mind, this is a player who signed in May. He didn't sign in the winter. He signed in May. A week before camp, he was convinced to come up to Canada, and they made it work. Okay? He didn't have a ton of time to dig into Alouettes history. He was busy learning a playbook, but he still found the time to do it. He found the time to look into the history. Who was Kerry Watkins? Who was Jamel Richardson? Who's Ben Cahoon? Who was Anthony Calvillo? He took that approach, and to me, it was like, wow, a guy who respects, and at this point, I'd already figured out that he was a really good player, but to respects the league, respects the city enough. And this is a guy who's been in the NFL, who's had success in the NFL. You know, he's had a 70-yard performance in the NFL as a starting wide receiver. So to me, that this guy humbled himself, came to Canada, made a good living in Canada, but wasn't just focused on getting back to, and it's okay to use the CFL as a trampoline to springboard you back into the NFL. There's nothing wrong with that. I think people who follow the CFL, they get that. But to me, I never felt like Austin Mack was looking to the NFL. It never felt like he had his sights set on the NFL. It always felt like he was where his feet were, and he was worried about being the best wide receiver possible for the Montreal Alouettes. So I just want to make sure before we get to Austin Mack, who's nice enough to join us today, I just want to make sure that we understand the attitude in which he came up with. The people that come up entitled usually don't make it very far or very long in this league, and they find themselves out of a job. The people that come up with the humble approach and the approach that Austin Mack came to Canada with, I think that goes a long way in dictating success. And I know that throughout the season, he's told me, you know, he wasn't looking necessarily to get, but he was at peace with not going back to the NFL. But sometimes when you don't look for something, you put the work in where you are, you end up getting there anyway. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show. He's the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. He's Austin Mack joining us. Austin, what's going on, man? All right, our next guest is the outstanding wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. Feels good saying that. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to miss you, but it felt good saying that. He's Austin Mack. Austin, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Joey? I appreciate you having me out today, man.
I appreciate you jumping on because you're not obligated to anymore. You don't work here anymore. So I appreciate you taking the time to join us. But walk me through the decision. We'll get into the Montreal stuff, but walk me through the decision. Why Atlanta? How did it go? Just take me through the timeline of what you liked about the situation and how it all came together.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. For me, man, the year after the year, I had one good week in Montreal, and then it was honestly right back to training. Me and my wife headed back to our hometown. I'm from Indiana; she's from St. Louis, so Midwest really. And I got right back to training. I had to kind of clean up my body, get my body feeling good enough for a workout. I had one workout planned right after the season. It was Atlanta Falcons. As soon as the season's over, my agent called me and was like, the Falcons want you to come in. And so, initially where my thought process was and where my heart is, I want to play football and I want stability for a family. I'm a father now, so I'm sure you can understand it. And for me, being in Montreal and being in Canada was awesome. So for me, it was going to have to take a lot. It was going to have to be a lot to get me to leave that situation. And so knowing that, right away, right after the season, my Atlanta called. They wanted me to come out, so I knew there was significant interest in me coming to Atlanta, right? So I get back to training. I'm training. This is all of December. We're shooting for the first week of January for this workout, right? And we get to right about this last week in December. I get three calls for three different places, and I told my
Teams.
agent, I told my
Yeah.
teams, I told my agent straight up. I said, hey, only way and this is what I told him, only way I go back is with a legitimate opportunity. I need, confirmed money up front. And it needs to be a legit opportunity. I did that. I've done the NFL. I tried it. Um, I missed my first shot, and so I was okay with not going back. Um, and so for me, it was uh, going out there, getting my body right, and I absolutely destroyed the workout. Um, uh, absolutely killed it. I mean, my body. I mean, I'm looking game ready like I did all year. No ankles, not worrying about not wearing ankle braces. But ultimately just killed it. And you know, just the feedback that I got not only from the coaches but the GMs, um, Terry and Ryan Pace. They both sat me down and was able to give me just the reassurance that all right, I'm a vetted player that's going through it. I've had some injuries, but they're a team that they want guys. They don't care where you're at in your career. They want the best players, and they're going to give you the opportunity no matter where you came from. They're not a team that's just going to pay 80 million for a guy and he's going to play. Right, and it kind of has shown from their track record. There was a guy from Winnipeg last year that's now returning for them and doing some stuff on defense. They have a guy from the XFL last year as well. And so I'm like, okay, this is you're legit, right? And so then after I killed the workout, I'm in Atlanta. We have this great talks. They're like, okay, we're gonna get with your agent now and try and figure something out. And we were able to come together with an agreement. And it just makes sense. It makes sense for not only myself. It's a dream. It's always been a dream playing the NFL, playing the National Football League. But to get an opportunity like the NFL is life changing. And to potentially be able to have that opportunity again is something I just didn't want to leave up. And so that's really how that came about. A lot of blind faith, a lot of belief as we've had all year. But really just diligently working and believing that, this is going to be a real opportunity, real shot for the family and knowing that I'm built for this moment, built for that level and wanting to play on that level again. So
did I understand? Did you turn 3 NFL teams down? Is that what you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm just going to tell you. So I want to, obviously, people want to hear you talk, but I'm just going to say the confidence that you carried yourself with from day one here, and then you backed it up on the field. That was impressive. But the attitude that you came up with is something that I will never forget because even before I worked here, obviously kept very close tabs on what was happening. I was an Alouettes fan. I'm not going to lie to you. And there's a lot of guys that were really talented that came to Canada and flopped because they didn't have the right attitude. To me, everyone thought that it was cool that you had those T-shirts of legends in the pregame warm-up, and the T-shirts were amazing. Joey did an incredible job with them. But I was just so much more impressed, and I think I've told you this, I was so impressed that you immersed yourself in the history of the Alouettes, that you guys embraced the city of Montreal. Like, to me, if an American would ask me, hey, what's the best way? How do I tackle coming to Canada? I would say, call Austin Mack and listen to exactly what he said, because that's the blueprint that you need. Because you said it, I think that's what's most impressive to me. You were fine with not going back to the NFL. And it's funny how things work that you got back there. So just if you can, I mean, that's not even a question, but can you talk to me about your approach and the mentality that you took this year, kind of just coming to Canada, being open to the new experience, and it led you here?
Yeah, this might be a long-winded response, so bear with me. I appreciate that, honestly. First, I mean, you'll have to interview PY and get from him what was the first thing that Austin Mack said to him when he called me and recruited me. And I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna sign this paper, what's the first thing that I said to him? And this is actually what I told him. And this is a week before camp in May. This is May, I want to say May 4th, 5th. I get on the phone with PY, and I'm debating if I want to come up to Canada. And I'm at a point where, I'm back-to-back years I've gotten hurt. And I played my rookie year. I was the fourth receiver for the New York Football Giants, undrafted. So and I played at Ohio State. So I'm very successful in football. I've been able to play. I've been able to, right? And to be in that point where back-to-back years I've gotten hurt, and the thing that you love the most is ripped from you. And you're sitting at home watching football, and you kind of don't know what your purpose is. You're kind of sitting around, and you're just it's hard to explain. But when the thing that you love to do most and you're not able to do it, I'm sure anybody can tell you it's hard. It sucks, right? And so, to be honest, I give all the credit to my daughter. I think being a father and having a daughter, it makes you internally, like, okay, it's time to grow up. It's time to make sure that you're doing every single possible in your day to day to be what you're saying that you want to be. If I want to be a football player, okay, am I doing every single thing in my day to day that's going to get me there? And when I said, okay, I'm going to Canada, this is what I said to PY. I said, okay, I'm coming up there and I'm going to be the best receiver you've ever seen come through Canada. I promise you. Ask PY himself. That's
Yeah.
the first thing I said. I said,
PY
hey,
Laverne is the assistant GM now of the Alouettes, just to clarify for those listening.
I said, I'm coming up there and I'm going to be the best receiver that's ever came through Montreal. And that was my mindset coming in. I knew I was going to be, somebody that's never heard of, CFL, whatever, new game, honestly, whatever. But I wanted to play football. I wanted to get the love back. I wanted to be dominant. I've always been dominant. And when you're playing hurt and you're not able to prove that and show that, that is hard mentally. And so, for me coming up, I just took the approach of a humble. You guys, you don't know who I am. I'm not going to tell you I'm from Ohio State. I'm not going to tell you I win in the NFL. Nobody even knew. Everybody thought I was a real rookie. Nobody even knew I was a first year player, right? Not the little intricacies of playing actual NFL games and not being a rookie. So for me, it was keeping that persona. Yeah, I'm a rookie. I'm a nobody. Don't worry about me. But you're going to see me out here working. And it started in camp. Those 2-a-days was serious, right? And we're getting after it. But it was every single day, man. I give a lot of my credit to Mike Leonello. I mean, I spent hours with him every single day, making sure I just learned the playbook, understood intricacies, and I wanted to see the best players at my position.
Mm.
So for me, it was the first thing I did when I got onto campus is I got 3 years of Geno Lewis tape, and I studied Geno Lewis. I did a deep dive analysis into Geno Lewis, into who the best receiver is in the CFL. And then from there, I did my research on every Montreal receiver. Because I told you, what did I say I wanted to be? I said I wanted to be the best receiver that ever come to Montreal.
Yeah.
And for me, it was an understanding not only who has came before me, but respecting what they've done. To play any professional league, play any professional sport, and to do it at a high level takes a lot of skill, takes a lot of work. And anybody that does it earns my respect. And to do it for a long period of time. Right. And LeBron has the ultimate respect if you want to put it into that terms. Right. And so for me, it was having that respect, but going in and putting in the work, but also recognizing the greats that came before it, but trying to create a new standard. And I don't know if you can ask Cody this, but we didn't lose a game until this happened. And I started doing this with the entire receiving room. That's when we went on our winning streak. I joined Cody like week, I want to say 2 or 3, every morning, 6 a.m. when he got into the building. So I was coming in early. And for me, it was so that I could understand Cody, I could understand the playbook, and so that he knew and I knew, right, everything, and that we were going to be on the same page. If you go through and watch a lot of games early on in the season, you could see a lot of mishaps between Cody and the other guys. Me and Cody were on right away. Cody and other guys was a little off. I think
game one, you had the big catch. I mean, you had the big catch that set up the touchdown in the your first CFL game.
Yep, the 61 bomb. Yep, 61-yard bomb. Should have been a touchdown. Anyway, right. So what I did in the receiver room was I made every other receiver. I said, I put up a film of shit that we could not do. I said, Mike, put together a film, and it was bad stuff that we were doing in games, me included. I'm king for going off sides. That's a bad. I try and use the waggle to my advantage when sometimes that was my thing. Can't go off sides, right? But more importantly, it's okay, the details and seeing the details and making people be accountable of that. And from then on, I said, okay, put out this stuff that we can't do. I said, okay, if you're one of these guys that's messed up, which was everybody, I need you here at 6 a.m. every single day until we clean it up. And I'm talking about every single one. And I looked him in the face. Like, I'm not the type of person where I'm going to I'm not going to do work and tell you to do it. I'm going to be doing the work. Now, are you going to come reach the standard or are you going to go do your own thing? And for me, it was creating that standard, creating that excellence, but really cohesively bringing that receiver group together And then if you look at that room all the way throughout that last part of that year, and then even the biggest game of all,
Yeah.
you see guys from the top to the bottom making big
Oh
plays
yeah.
when they mattered. And that confidence, and for Cody to rip it to Cole Schweeker and Cole Schweeker go up and make that big fourth or third down catch, right? Stuff like that is where that work at 6 a.m. came in. And me, Cole, Kayon, Tyson, Snead, we were all there every single morning. You know what I'm saying? 6 a.m., bright and early, putting in that work. And, um, I mean, dude, those guys are gonna be my friends forever, man. I had a lot
Hmm.
of fun. Had a lot of fun, but that for me, that was the approach. I wanted to be, I never want to do anything to be mediocre. I want to come be legendary. So that's just kind of who I am and kind of what I wanted to bring and
Yeah.
leave. While I was there. So
Yeah. So look, I think it's clear you loved your teammates. I saw you and I know you appreciated the city. I think even the most intense Alouette fan out there, because clearly, I mean, the NFL's more money, is more more exposure and all that stuff. But I think even the most intense Alouette fan would say, if I was in Austin Mack's position, it's a no-brainer. Atlanta's giving me an opportunity. I'm gonna go. I'm curious how you saw it. Maybe you saw it the same way, but even with Atlanta being such a good fit, like you said, was it easy for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna leave Montreal behind and I'm gonna go to the NFL, even though the NFL is clearly superior in every way. I'm curious the emotions that you were dealing with then.
and it's funny you said that. Emotions. You have to eliminate emotions in big business decisions,
Hmm.
Joey. So for
Hmm.
me, I eliminate that. I don't look at it as that. I look at it as, okay, what did I just do in a year in Canada? I got to live abroad. My daughter is gonna possibly learn some French. I got to learn French myself, right? I got to eat great food. I got to travel. I got to meet new people. Um, and I get to play football and be a franchise guy. To experience that again and pro football, absolutely amazing. For me, I needed to be able to, um, you got to be able. Stability is number one for me.
Yeah.
And so I was working on a deal with Danny, with PY. We were working on something. I know I was kind of out of their. We paid a lot for the defense this year, so for me, it was going to be hard. It was going to be hard because I was shooting for a two year 500 around that range. I was down to take a little less for the next year,
Hmm.
but for the type of guy that I am and wanted to be, like, I needed to know like I was going to get compensated for that.
Yeah.
And knowing how the CFL cap works and whatnot, and it was very difficult. Um, but this is one thing that kept me in my mind. I had my guy Greg Ellingson, who was 34 years old, in the receiver room, right? Still chugging away.
Yeah.
And for me, the CFO isn't going anywhere. For me, yeah, I want to go potentially maximize the best years that I can and make the most money that I can. Right
Hmm.
now, in the prime of my career, I feel like I'm in the prime of my career. You guys got to see me finally healthy, finally coming back, and now I'm taking it to the next level. Why not go try and get as much as you can?
Yeah. I don't
You
think
know what
there's
I'm
anything
saying?
wrong with that. I think the most hardcore Alouette fan would tell you the same thing. I'm telling you, one of the most commented publications we had on social media this year so far was you. We reposted the pictures that you had, and there was not one negative comment in there. I think people get that. I think people get that, and I think everyone's happy for you. One of the people that I've spoken to, anyway, the fans, the hardcore fans I've spoken to, are happy for you. Okay, I want to move on to Cody's speech. You talked about Cody before. Uh, Cody's speech. I think I was standing 5 feet behind you when that speech went down the day before the Grey Cup. I'm just curious. Can you take me back to that Grey Cup week, that moment in particular? Because I told Cody this, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool." When I left that room, first of all, I was choked up. I'm not gonna lie, and secondly, I went down and told my colleagues who weren't in the meeting. I was like, "We're not losing tomorrow. We're gonna win." And the offense, people can question the offense all they want. The offense is gonna be fine. And thankfully, you guys made me look smart. But I'm curious what you felt in that moment and what you remember about Grey Cup week in particular.
Grey Cup week was awesome. Um, I'll just talk about that one moment, and we get to more. I honestly, man, I had tears in my eyes, but more than anything, like, when you're seeing it, it's crazy that it's captured now. People watch it, but they don't understand the intensity that was in that room. They don't understand. All right, the week that we just had, they don't understand the year of Cody that we just had.
Yeah.
Right? I've never seen Cody go up there and first off fire off like that. I'm like, okay, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what that did for me, and that's all I can really speak on is, um, it just kind of solidified like, okay, I know I'm ready, but I know he's ready. And I think that really got the defense like, okay,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of vocal defensive players. We hear a lot from those guys all the time. We don't have too many vocal offensive players, and so when we had Cody go up there and he finished it off because we were able to hear from all other guys that previously played in Grey Cups,
Hmm.
and they were all giving great feedback. But the intensity that he had, the focus that he had, that's the intention, the detail that he had, not only in that speech but that entire week. Um, I mean, it was just for me. For me, now let me talk about the week. For me, I had so much media, and I didn't want nothing to do with it. I think I was an asshole to everybody. I was an asshole to Enoch and them on the CFL podcast. I didn't want nothing to do with media because I was like, this is all a distraction. Everything was going on the week was all distraction. It's all for fans. It's all for fan engagement. It's all for, get the hype going. And it was great. It's great. But for me, I didn't want no parts of it. I'm like, what's my routine? Let me get into my routine. I'm in this terrible Sandman hotel in Hamilton, Ontario. But hey, we're going to make this work, right? And so, it was phenomenal. I mean, every practice was like detailed. It was just awesome to be out there. Um, it just went by like that.
Yeah.
It just went by so quick. And that final drive to this day it'll go down probably as one of the best in history. It has to.
You were no, I mean, unless you really pay attention, you and everything that you did up into that drive, that was a big reason why the drive worked. Because at that Cole Speaker play, you're the option at
I'm the
the 5 yard
decoy.
out.
I'm the decoy in that
You're
play.
the decoy. But if you didn't light it up before that and have the defense shift toward you, I mean, it maybe doesn't work.
Yeah,
So you played a big role in that as well.
no doubt. And we could talk about that last play actually, which is crazy because we dialed that up. I want to say the drive before. We ran that play, but we ran the RPO option off of that, where I'm in the slot, Snead's next to me. We have Cole outside. He's running a go. I'm running this quick out, and it's an RPO option for Cody to throw the quick out or the hitch to Snead or hand it off. And this is to the field, right? So we're on the right hash.
Yeah.
We got the field. The field corner's new. They had a different field corner every time we played them this year. We played them
It was Parker instead of Rose, I think.
right, but the time before they had Darmy, Abu Darmy. Can't
Alden
pronounce
Darby.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so they had a new guy every time, and he was on the shorter side, right? The play that we ran, that RPO, he jumped it, so we saw that, so we knew right away, like, okay. And for me, if you watch the play, I'm setting it up quick. I think I ran like a 3 yard out. I'm like, okay, I'm about to show this quick, like, and I mean, it's just awesome. The things that go into football that people might not understand, right? The game planning, it's really a chess match, and it's all based on tendencies. It's all based on, quick decisions, microseconds under, just really quick, right? And we have to react on it. And so to see it, see those plays like come to fruition, and to see the whole year of trials and tribulations from an offensive side. And I was there from the good and through the bad, right? And to finish off the way that we did, knowing that our offense could have been extremely dynamic all year. And it would be little stuff that we'd shoot ourselves in the foot here and there, and to see it all come together, and not only that, but football is the ultimate team sport. Everybody did their job when it was needed, and that right there, in the biggest moment of the year, that's what you can ask for. Those guys deserve everything from the offensive line to Cody himself. I mean, it was just we went and got it, dude. We went and got it. So they kept saying we weren't going to score touchdowns, this and that. Winnipeg.
Okay.
You know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But so they just needed to find a way to get the ball to me. That D line, boy, Willie's a demon for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I know I've kept you too long. I have a couple Ohio State ones for you. You have time?
Dude, we got time. I have
Okay.
nothing to do. We could talk for another 30 if you want.
Okay. I don't want to I don't want to be too greedy with your time. The Alouettes signed Mike Weber Jr., the running back out of Ohio State. Okay, you're fist pumping. Can you give me the scouting report? Can you give me a good story, something funny I can hit him with when he gets to training camp, when he gets to Montreal?
Oh, okay.
What kind of player is he? Because I mean, there's an opening here. I mean, Fletcher has a great chance to get him. Fletcher deserves a look, but they're bringing in some competition. I spoke to Walter about that on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he acknowledges that too. But what do you think Mike Weber brings to the field? And then if you think of a funny story, I'd love that.
Yeah, give me a second on the funny story.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Mike, man. Mike in general. Mike's a hard worker. He's from Detroit, Cass Tech grad. So I mean, he's from a just a hard working blue collar town. He's a dog, man. He's somebody that's a pound and ground bowling ball, but he's extremely agile. He can catch the ball out the backfield, and he's fast. He's really fast. And when I got to what's funny is I've recruited my ass off. We can talk about recruiting too. Let's talk about that. Let's get into that
Sure.
too at the end. I've made a lot of phone calls, like you said earlier in the show. A lot of people have called Austin Mack. Yes, they want the blueprint. It's not really a blueprint, but more than anything, I let them know kind of honestly Montreal. I let them know kind of the opportunity up there and the way of life, but the game, the game. And you have to be able to run the ball up there. And if you can run the ball like he can between the lines and between those tackles, the space up there is night and day compared to the NFL and college ball. He's going to be able to run up and down that field. I'd say he's a smaller, faster Stan in his prime, and I'm excited to see him. I hope he's coming up to camp ready to go. Mike's my dude, man. He was in the class ahead of me in 2015. Him and KJ Hill were my boys, man. And KJ Hill, we were supposed to get him as well.
Yeah.
But Winnipeg, unfortunately, snagged him up on their neg list. And then I'm also excited about Jerron Cage, who we picked up as well
Beeline.
from Ohio State. That's one of my young bulls. I had him my last 2 years in college. A really hard-nosed defensive tackle. I mean, somebody that's going to get after the ball. And anybody that's played with us at Ohio State, like we're all bred the same, right? We're hard workers. We want to win, and we know how to win. You know what I mean? And we're gonna go get that job done. And so I'm super excited about those two guys specifically. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome to see. I know they're gonna enjoy it. Just the way of life in Montreal, the way that. Now that I'm back in the States, I don't walk anymore. And so now that I am, now that I'm, removed from it, I miss it. You miss the walking, you miss the nature, you miss being out on the nice metro every morning. Right. And, so stuff like that, you're going to be able to really experience, that feel of being in Europe, and he's excited for it. He's ready to come to work, and he's going to be ready. So, I think that's somebody that we should definitely keep on your radar, and I'm excited for him, man. I think he's gonna do what he needs to do this year for us.
I'm gonna make a statement that I don't want you to respond to because I don't want you to be in trouble. I'm rooting for Justin Fields to wind up in Atlanta. I know you guys played together. I don't want you to get in trouble. But do you have a good Justin Fields story? I mean, obviously he's in the news with the Bears having the number one pick and all that stuff. But do you have a good Justin Fields story or a Joe Burrow story? I'm looking for good stories, Austin. This is what I'm looking for.
Good story, dude. This is when you were supposed to tell me before, so I
No,
can't.
because I like to go off the cuff.
I know. But dang, college so long ago. JoJo and Justin. Justin was crazy. Um, I'm gonna get back to you on the story. I'm sorry, but
Do what you gotta say. What you gotta say. It's all good.
yeah, just to talk about Justin. I actually shot him a text this past weekend. Yes, so I'm glad you mentioned him. I'm hoping we find out some good news by the end of the week. That's all I'm gonna say. But
Okay.
Justin came in with me. I had him my senior year. So I was a little on the older end. But to see what Justin did from a maturity standpoint, coming from a red shirt at Georgia, he came in, learned, took over the program, and just dominated not only my senior year, which was his sophomore, but his junior year. Um, an athlete, a freak of nature.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I mean, dude, it'll be extremely fun to be able to have the opportunity to get play with him again. But we'll see for sure. Um, we'll definitely see. Mike Weber though, I have funny stories, like so many.
Fine.
I just don't know if they're appropriate. All right,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like,
It's a somewhat family podcast on
I
here.
can't, I can't, I don't want the owls taking me to haunted houses treatment. All right, so
Yeah.
so I'm just have to get back to you on the
Yeah,
Mike
that's
Weber
fine.
stories.
Well, we could have you on again, and then finally, I'll leave you with this. I hope you're over the Michigan national title win, but I'm curious off the field, the craziest thing you saw Ohio State Michigan rivalry. Like maybe it doesn't have to involve players. I'm just fan wise, crazy interaction. Is there you have a crazy
Like in general, or in
just in
general,
general, just in general pertaining to that rivalry while you were there?
while I was there, absolutely can't stand them, and it's real. All right, I just want you to know this the hatred, it's real. It's just the biggest rivalry in sport. I don't like them. They don't like us. All right. Um, I'm gonna tell you something because I recently saw this just from watching the game not too long ago when they played us this past year, and it's absolutely disgusted me. We helped them off the turf after hits, stuff like that. Oh, what are we doing? Like what? We're supposed to mush the helmet then to turf, not help them up, right?
Times have changed, Austin.
Oh,
They
but
don't make them like that anymore.
yeah, we're all nice now, but we're all Canadians almost. No, but but this is honestly, I got my opportunity my sophomore year. I started to emerge as a starter under Urban Meyer in the Buckeyes, and I think one of my defining moments my sophomore year was JT Barrett goes down. He hurt
Hmm.
his knee, and we're in an all white. We're in Ann Arbor, and it's in the big house, and it's rocking. And Dwayne Haskins comes in. It's a third and like 17 or 14 or something like that. It's long. It's unlikely we're going to do anything. We call fades. And he threw up a fade ball to me on the right side of I go up, make a catch, take a huge hit, and come down with it. But that was a big turning point in the game. And I'd say one of my defining moments, man, in my career, especially at
Hmm.
Ohio State. Um, it was definitely huge for me, and you could definitely pull that one up. It's pretty fun catch, man. Pretty fun
One
catch.
guy that you would not help up in the CFL, one guy whose face you would put into the turf. Can you answer that? Or am I putting you in a bad
Absolutely, he's
position?
retired now, so I won't ever have to worry
Oh,
about
right,
him
that's
ever again.
right. That's right. I forgot about the Chris Edwards thing. That was so long ago.
I,
That's
I, I mean,
right.
I hope he just had to retire because
Yeah.
no team should ever
Yeah.
want a player like Chris Edwards. I have nothing good to say about him.
I
Nothing.
forgot. I totally forgot about that. That's right. So, Austin, I appreciate the time, man. I texted you that we'd talk 15 minutes. We're going on 33. I appreciate the time, buddy. Thank you for everything you did while you were here. Thanks for this. And I hope you know that once an
Yeah,
Alouette, always an Alouette, brother.
always, always. Yeah. Last thing I just want to say to the fans and everybody is just,
Yeah,
that the year was awesome. And I'm still here as a resource. I mean, just talked to Cody today, talked to Snead the other day. I try and stay as close to those guys as possible. I see them as family. And I want to come back for either that first game or the ring ceremony. So I'll be back for one of those for sure. But I mean, it was a pleasure. And, whatever my path may go, football is still that, and it's not here anymore. Just know right here, right now, PY will be dialed up right away. So, no, but it's been a pleasure, Joey. I appreciate you. You've been a class act all year, man, and somebody I respect and do anything for. The Joey Alfieri.
appreciate you, man. I
Whenever
appreciate
you
you.
need anything, man, just give me a call. But I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody at the Owls organization, man. Definitely love them, miss them.
Yeah, just know that everyone's rooting for you, man. I hope I never get to see you play a game in Montreal ever again. Just it hurts to say, but I hope that happens, and not because you go play in Toronto or somewhere else. I just hope I get to watch you on Sundays
Definitely,
and some
definitely.
Thursdays and some Monday nights. I might
And
come
then
see you.
I'm gonna have to give you sideline tickets, right? You're gonna
Hey,
have to come. You're gonna have to pull up on me.
hey, I'll make sure to do that, and dinner will be on me, even though you're a big fancy guy now in the NFL. All right.
Yeah, come on now, Joey. We're going to Duns, man. We're going to Duns.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you, Joey. Have a good
Thanks again to Austin Mack for being so generous with his time. Austin told us that we do 15 minutes. We did over half an hour, and the answers were very well thought out and honest, and that doesn't surprise me in the least. But yeah, Austin Mack going to the Atlanta Falcons. Did we? I don't know if we broke some news there. The Justin Fields thing, something about the weekend or something. I don't know. I don't know what went down there, but it'll be something to keep an eye on in the coming days. But yes, the other thing, Chris Edwards, if you remember the Tiger Cats defensive back, I couldn't believe what I was saying. I mean, knowing who did it, I didn't have a hard time believing it. But if you remember, I think was it the second game of the season? Montreal was in Hamilton. They won. Alouettes were in victory formation. Cody Fajardo puts a knee on the ground. Austin Mack stretches out his hand to shake Chris Edwards' hand, and he gave him a two-hand shove and pushed him in the chest and knocked him over. So that's the Chris Edwards story, if you didn't remember. So shout out to Austin Mack. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a positive rating. Leave us a review. And we certainly appreciate that. May is right around the corner. We're not too far away from that. Thank you for chiming in, everybody. Thanks for jumping on and listening to this episode of the PodcAls. Again, we'll be back next Tuesday with a new episode in English, Thursday in French.